Consuming dairy food raises the risk for ovarian cancer. There are many strong links between the dairy consumption and prostate cancer. Countries with the highest dairy consumption rates also had the highest prostate cancer rates. Research shows that higher intake of both calcium and dairy products may increase a man's risk of prostate cancer by 30 to 50%. Dairy protein was strongly linked to liver cancer and children. Also, it's been linked to a number of other problems, including multiple sclerosis and other issues. After all, this what it's really for. It's making that little calf grow into a great big cow as rapidly as possible. And that's fine if you're a baby calf. But if you're a woman with a breast cancer or a man with prostate cancer and you're consuming this substance filled with growth factors, it's like pouring gasoline on a fire. A study following 53,000 North American women over 8 years showed that those who are drinking 2 to 3 cups of cow's milk a day, which is what the current USDA guidelines recommends, increase their risk of breast cancer by as much as 70 to 80%, while replacing the dairy milk with soy milk was associated with 32% reduced risk of breast cancer. Too much dairy and sugar simply leads to acid in our stomach that causes acid reflux, and in children it comes across as symptoms of colds and allergies. Milk comes out of refrigerator non-acidic. The pH is actually 7, but you see, as the temperature goes up, it becomes more and more acid. The pH drops like a ton of bricks. Anybody that doesn't believe me, pour a glass of milk and leave it for several hours, and then try to drink it. How about the calcium, you may ask? We need calcium to survive. We need it for our bones, our muscles, our nerves. Dairy calcium, in the majority of studies that have been done on it, has not been shown to be protective against osteoporosis, which is weakening on the bones, or against bone fractures, such as hip fractures. The calcium is in the soil. It goes up into the plant. The cow gets hungry. It eats the plant. The calcium goes into the bloodstream through the mammary glands and squirts out as a milk. Why not just eat plants? Studies have shown that when a person drinks a glass of milk, they actually lose more calcium in their urine than they are able to absorb from the glass of the milk. Harvard researchers discovered that drinking milk could even increase the risk of hip fractures in men. Increased calcium intakes from cow's milk increased the risk for prostate cancer, while calcium from non-dairy sources were found to be protective against it. Most scientists agree that it's better for us to get calcium, potassium, protein, and fats from other sources, like whole plant foods, vegetables, fruits, beans, nuts, seeds, seaweed. The cells that we need in our bones to keep our boson are osteoblasts. The thing that makes them spin out new bone is like asking them, just like the muscles. For example, a bodybuilder knows the more you use your muscles, the more they respond. Your bones respond the same way. The more you use your bones, the more the osteoblasts being out. But if you stop using your bones, if you're spending 8 hours a day in front of computer, drinking coffee or soft drinks, and never exercise, you never get out in the sun, never throwing any weights, never doing anything physical, just like your muscles, it will atrophy, dull, and turn into guacamole. Your bones will atrophy as well as they will turn into styrofoam, and that's what osteoporosis is. So what's the connection between dairy and osteoporosis? There is no connection. But seriously, the dairy industry has been an expert. They've been artistic and making that association in people's heads. Cheese and dairy are overwhelmingly the biggest sources of saturated fats in American diet. Even when people say avoid them, we do not take the next step to say do not consume dairy products that are fully saturated. Yet, it is a #1 source of saturated fat and cholesterol in the US. Cheese is 70% fat. Fat slows your metabolism, so more fat gets added more easily. Over time, a lot of cholesterol can build up inside the walls of your arteries. A buildup of cholesterol causes fatty streaks to form in your arteries. This is part of a process called atherosclerosis, which narrows and stiffens the arteries. The longer the cholesterol sits in the artery walls, the harder it gets. Eventually, a fairly streaking gets so large and hard that it cracks, causing a clot to form around the crack. This clot can block the artery, causing a heart attack or a stroke. If you have type 2 diabetes, you have a glucose insulin receptors that have it all, but you also have intramuscular lipid fat to grow inside the cell, and that prevents the process from working properly. The standard treatments for diabetes ignore this. They do not face it. The data on the link between cow's milk and type 1 diabetes in children and iron deficiency anemia is solid and strong. On a biological, medical level, there is a lot of things in cow's milk that you really don't want to be taking in your body. If you, for example, had ice cream, you've got saturated animal fat, you've got tons of sugar, you got artificial ingredients, and all these things contributing to obesity and sickness. The main hormone, insulin growth factor, that we are pumping these cows to help them produce more milk, is directly linked to breast cancer and prostate cancer. This growth hormone deserves your attention. If you're having antibiotics constantly coming into your body, you're consistently damaging the healthy flora within your intestinal lining and within your stomach. This means that you don't have a good bacteria in your gut that you ordinarily would. This can make it hard to digest, it can cause a lot of bloating, and it can cause a lot of other issues, like inflammation within the intestinal tract. That's a lot of information, but this is a very important topic. This is a second video about the dairy. Please check the notification on the right top corner to see the first one, and I hope it was useful. Does this convince you to change your mind while consuming dairy products? If not, please let me know why. If yes, I'm glad to hear that, and please share your experiences while living life without the dairy products. In the next episode, I'm going to talk about cows treatment, because cows are animals, it's a living creatures, and we should treat them as a living creatures, not like some kind of meat or milk producing factories or anything like that. So I hope this episode was useful. Please hit that like button, please subscribe to get notifications about future episodes, and see you next time.